Welcome back to the final segment of this episode of the Rumbidzai show. And I just want to welcome with us Sam Keleso's back. Thank you so much for sharing. And we've got Regina Zishiri, who is an addiction therapist. So welcome. And she's also a shumbress. So she's my sister. So, and she's from Chiwi, I have to say. Yeah, quite Chiwi, there's some amazing women in Chiwi. Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Oh,
really,
wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. So, we've just been talking to Sam Keles about her journey, and for her to actually come out to be able to speak on camera and to speak here, there's been so much that's happened in the background. So perhaps I'll just go back a bit to you, Sam Keles, to ask what you, after Admaya's death, what you went through and what help you got. And I know that Regina has been an integral part of that help for you. So perhaps if you could just tell us in your own words what you went through, and then Regina, you could tell us more about the help that you gave her.
Okay, thank you for that opportunity. I'll get straight to the point. I think what kept me going is my faith. Mm-hmm. Knowing God is the most important thing in my life that have kept me going. Every time I feel like I'm not stable, I'm going down, I'll just kneel down and pray to God, give me strength. Mm-hmm. And they actually work perfect for me. Mm. And the community, like people like Regina, they've been there for me since, and the church, the members of the church, they've been so great. Wonderful. And I would like to also to thank the Zimbabwean community. They've been there for me. Center, right, center, back, everywhere. They've been just
I want
brilliant.
to stop you there. I want to say this on camera for the record. The Zimbabwean community is great.
Oh, yes.
We always talk about the bad things about our community, but we are a very good community.
There are some bad things they can do, but in my experience, everything went well. I really want to salute the Zimbabwean community.
Well done.
They do the best they can, and they're still there in my life. They still check on me if I'm okay, if I'm doing well.
Yeah.
So I've got a very good family.
So
strong Zimbabwean, you are doing well.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Let's carry on doing the good things to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. It's good to hear good reports. Yes. And Regina, you're an addiction therapist, isn't it?
Yes.
And so what type of help did you give to Sam Keleso?
Well, I think it was quite a challenge when I met her, because I got to know about her when the son passed away. My mom, as a community, is what you were saying before, Zimbabwean community, we help each other. So when there was a funeral. It's unfortunate I was in Birmingham that time. That's where I was working. My mom attended the funeral, and she heard about what had happened, and she got to know that the son had a previous history of addictions. When she came to discuss this with me, she said, I feel with what if actually a qualified addiction counselor or therapist, this is an opportunity of you helping this lady. However, at that time, because she was still mourning, I thought that it was so early for me to just approach her.
Okay.
Because you need a connection with the person you want to help with, and the fact that she did not know me, and I didn't want to introduce myself as an addiction therapist or a counselor. I wanted to introduce myself as a Regina who wants to get to know her. She kept on being in my mind. She kept on being in my mind, and then it just happened that this other day, I just told myself that I need to meet her. It's the right time, I feel. And besides, as we said before, I grew up as a Christian. When I'm making my decisions, I pray, and I pray the first thing, and then I consult people, and then I feel myself that am I ready or not. And then that's when I called her to say, are you okay? My name is Regina. And then she said, I'm in a hospital. And I've been in hospital for, how long have you been in hospital for?
I was there for 2 weeks.
And was that as a result of Admire's death?
Yeah, actually, it took me 1 year to go for the counseling session. I didn't think I was ready.
Yeah.
And then when I decided, I felt like I was ready. I was fooling myself. So I went for that session, and then everything just went down. After that session, I didn't go back again. For the next one, I ended up in hospital with anxiety and all this stress. And so it took me 2 weeks. That's why Regina came in. Then she came to see me in hospital.
Oh, so that's why you had felt that prompting.
Yes, there is an inner man within you. You know, you feel in your gut that there is something that you need to do. There is a certain type of support you need to be doing. So she just came into my mind, and then I looked for her. Within that time, I managed to find her, and then I introduced myself, and then I say to her, "Is it okay if I come to see you in the hospital?" Well, I saw her. She was emotional, and she was in pain. I could sense, you know, that she appeared to be very depressed.
Yeah.
I did not introduce myself as an addiction therapist. I just say to myself, I'm Regina, and I've just come to see you. And we had a connection.
Wow.
And this is where I felt that we had started having a good relationship. I do not know, how did you feel the first time you saw me?
I don't know what happened. Spiritual, to be honest, we connected. It just went smooth.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I can't explain it, but the connection was just there. I didn't even ask who she was. I knew her mom. Then I like, okay. It took me as a surprise. She came to see me. I'm like, okay, she cooked for me. I'm like,
I came with food, and as Zimbabweans, you know, sometimes there is a saying in Shona that say, so I just thought, well, this is the little thing that I would, you know, in terms when I'm approaching myself. I cooked sadza, we cooked maguru, we cooked beef, we cooked vegetables, you know.
Took it all to the hospital.
We took it all to the hospital.
I came with it and I ate it. I enjoyed it.
So it was just a part of, this is how you build relationship, you know. Sometimes you do not have to come in a way that you're presenting yourself, just say you're a professional. That sort of relationship, it needs to be there, that connection. And I could say non-judgmental, and this is what we need to, when it comes to acceptance, you love the person for who they are. You accept them for who they are, and you're willing to support them. So in terms of the support, I felt that what she needed was a positiveness within herself that I felt she was lacking, and I felt loneliness as well within her. From what she was talking, the first thing she started telling me was about her son, and then we started talking about the history, and then from there, because of how I understand in terms of my professional ways, I started just say, so does this happen? Does this used to happen? And then, you know, having to look at the behavioral pattern, and then I just asked her, did he have a father figure? And then she said no.
So you started dealing with Samukele as an individual, looking at her firstly, like you said, you built relationship, then you got to know her and started helping her with her own well-being, and then looking back into what had happened. And I would love for you just to perhaps share with our viewers, you know, there might be a mother who is out there, who's watching somewhere, whose child is 12 or 13, and they can see behavior changes, and they can see, but they don't quite know what's happening. What would you say? What would you empower parents to look out for? And perhaps as well, what other help can they get?
Okay, first of all, thank you for saying this. I have been very passionate about having to help Zimbabwean community. I actually noticed that in Zimbabwe, or in even, I do not know, other African communities, we do not have an openness regarding addictions. And my advice is openness. With other parents, they may ignore, they may know that this is really happening, because it will not take more than time without realizing that the child is into something, substances.
How do you get that openness with a child who is, I'm a mother of a 16-year-old, a 22-year-old boy, and a girl who's 14. So I know with the boys, it's so difficult to get them to get something out of them. So you try and ask questions and speak to them, but sometimes they don't want to talk to you, they ignore you, they want to be up in their room on their gadgets. You try and engage them, but it's a real battle. So how do we get that openness?
Myself, I'm not a parent yet, but as a daughter and as a daughter and as a professional addiction therapist, sometimes what I've observed when raising children, there is what we call an attachment. If children have an attachment towards their parents, relationship can come easy to talk to them, and it can become more natural to know exactly what's going on within them. What I have noticed in the way I grew up, you know that when you have a father, well, he's a father figure, and he's he's not a role model, but the way we respect them, there is a sort of fear within the relationship. And there is a way whereby if a child behaves in a certain way, before you know it, you get to be called names. Your child, you've done this, and then sometimes some of the parents, what they say towards their children, they do not understand the impacts that it has within. And as a child, we develop, we develop when we're still in the womb, and then we continue to develop when we get to be born. So the brain, it all develops. So in that development, when you have a father figure or a mother figure who always sometimes throw you up negative things within you, that will have an effect. For example, as I said, with the mother that I have here with me, there was that pain within the son to know that there was no one to guide him, and knowing that he's being raised with a mother who is going through so much pain, and he had to be, maybe I feel that he had to sense to be a man when he was not a man, and he had to take a role within that when he needed that guidance.
So when you were in the hospital, you said you were getting some help and some support, and then Regina came along and you found that really helpful. What was the difference between the help that you were getting in the hospital and then the help that you were receiving from Regina?
Okay, the hospital, they did their party, which was great, to keep me going, keep me alive. And then she came. With Regina, the difference was I could speak to someone one-to-one with things that I'm going through that I can't tell the hospital. I was there as a patient, but she came as a daughter, as a friend, as a sister, you can name it. To me, she's a daughter to me. So she came, she covered that gap, which I could not get from the nurses, the doctor. They're concerned about your health. Are you doing well today? Are you keeping me alive? But she came and cover that gap, which I needed someone to just sit there, tell me it's gonna be okay. To tell me that it's okay, everything's gonna be okay, we're gonna go through together, and we sit and chat and open up things that they're down there. I need to get them up there. That's why she came in my life. She did that.
So you're saying as well then that the understanding, there was just a natural understanding of each other because of your background, and then that made it much easier for you to help. And even just that one-to-one, you said, someone listening so that they can just hear, and the encouragement as well. Yeah.
Sometimes we need someone to just listen to you talking.
Mm-hmm.
Someone to be a listener, a good listener.
Yeah. Yeah. So did they give you medication in hospital?
Yeah, I actually seen a psychiatrist as well. They thought I was going crazy, so they actually referred a psychiatrist for me.
Yeah.
Tried to give me those anxiety tablet, which I refused. I knew I wasn't crazy. I was just going through a phase, which I needed just to heal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time is a healer, isn't it? Yeah. So when you went to hospital, they thought you were having a breakdown?
Yeah, I was actually having a breakdown, like anxiety and depression.
Okay.
So it went just like that. After that session, I couldn't.
You couldn't?
No.
Yeah.
It just took me back, and then everything just came boom. I couldn't walk. I was on a wheelchair at some point.
You couldn't walk?
Yeah, I could not work. I had spasms everywhere. It was too much.
Wow. So your body sort of shut down?
It just shut down at that point. I couldn't do anything for myself. I was in a situation for 2 weeks. I remember one day I was in the hospital. They said they came. When I woke up, the nurses were just around me. I said, we've been trying to wake you up. You were not waking up. We're about to resuscitate you. I'm like, really? I don't know. They were just there. I'm thinking, was I gone or something? It just went, it was too much.
So what causes that for the whole body to go into like shutdown?
Well, myself, I felt that what she was going through, it was the reflection of the stress that she's been.
Yeah.
She couldn't just handle the pain, and the body sometimes it does react to how emotional an individual is affected. This is what I felt, and I felt that, well, if we start to, I just thought to myself, she needs a lot of positive energy. I remember the first time I saw her, we spoke through. The following day, she was very in a low mood. She couldn't speak properly, and she told me the medication that she was having, which I understood what exactly was and the cause and the effects anyway. So I noticed the following day I saw her, she was a different person. She was totally a different person.
Different in her mood was
in terms of
better.
mood was it was different, and she was starting to feel healthier, and
it was the guru.
she was starting to feel healthier, and then afterwards you spent only a week.
I spent 2 weeks in
afterwards.
After
when I came to see you, you were just been given just to finish up. She actually gradually changed in a
short space of time.
Very, very short space of a time, which I acknowledged really, because what I liked about her is the faith. We shared about the faith, and we both believe in God, so we were actually sending each other sometimes Bible verses to just encourage each other.
It's really heartwarming to hear about all the help that Regina gave you, and it's good old communities, and it food, love, encouragement, which can really bring a person up. And now it's been a few months since you met and since you've been in hospital. How are you now? How do you feel now?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling much better than I was before. I'm feeling strong every day, so that's why I'm here.
Wonderful. And how do you feel about your future? Positive? Or?
Oh yes, my future, I can see a bright future in front of me. Everything's going good accordingly.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Before I finish off, I would like to, like you asked about the parenting, how can you rely? I would like to say something about it. I think in my case, I would like to, as a parent, you need to bond with your children, no matter boys or girls. You need to have that time with them. If they like football, just go with them and see how they're doing there. Just have a time to just have a chat with your children. Just find out things about them, what they like. And then if, like my son, he likes football, I have to sometimes take myself there and leave everything else and go and watch him play football. So it's just one of those things that you find out what they are good at, and then relating to that, have time, just even a few minutes to talk, just to get to know them better. I think it works as a parent, as a single mother, as I am. I think that works for me.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, maybe I missed it there. When my son, I didn't have that much time. But now I've realized if I would have done these things different, maybe have time with him.
Yeah.
Find out what his needs are.
Mm-hmm.
It might be just a small thing, but it's really important to bond with your children. Despite that the fathers, they are not there.
Yes.
As mothers, we're playing a big role as a father and a
And
mother.
yeah.
So if you're in that situation, like in my situation as a single mother, you need to play that game right.
Yeah.
Just bond with your children, find out what they like, be in their life, just like that.
Spending time with them.
Quality time with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And that's, that's very valuable advice
And channel
to
them in a
parents
good
who are
way.
there. Yeah.
If it takes them to go to God, let them go that way. But I think that's another challenge. You can't force them to do
You
so,
can't
but
force them.
only God can change them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Regina, for being on the show. And we're just going to talk more about your work that you do in the community, and the charity that you've set up, and all the stuff that you're doing in the Zimbabwean community, which is great. And the work you've done with Sam Keleso is just amazing. So
thank you.
You're a very
thank you so much. Thank you. I do appreciate.
That's great. So we've just been talking about addictions, and I would love for you to just give us a definition of what addiction, what constitutes an addiction.
Okay, from the way I view, or I may define addiction, it's any behavior that you crave that gives you temporary pleasure or relief that results in a negative consequences. Okay. And then you continue doing it knowing that it will still continue having some negative consequences.
Okay, so it's a craving.
Yes.
That behavior which has negative consequences.
Yes.
And then
that gives you a temporary pleasure.
Temporary pleasure.
Or temporary pleasure or relief.
Or relief.
Yes.
Okay.
That gives you a negative, that end up having to have a negative result.
A negative result.
Yes.
So what type of cravings?
Well, so in this way, addiction is viewed in different ways. People, they can have a drugs addiction.
Okay.
They can have alcohol addiction. There is sex addiction. There is gambling.
Yeah. Sex addiction.
Yes, there is sex. Yeah. There are treatments.
Okay, people actually get treatment for that.
Yeah. Wow. Sex and love addiction. Yeah.
Opiates, right? What type of drugs are those?
So
like
heroin.
Yes. So that's quite so there's weed. There's cigarettes. People can be addicted to cigarettes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the opiates are like going up.
Yes.
Okay. And so when we've got like if we have a viewer who is maybe addicted to like in Zimbabwe, or maybe like tongoti chidakwa. You know how when at home in Zim, you grew up in Zimbabwe, you would see people and they would just say uyo chidakwa.
Yes.
And it's so easy to actually not realize because that's an addiction.
Yes, sure.
And so how can we help family members, for example, to understand that I think this is now beyond just drinking, and it's now an addiction, or it's beyond just taking a weed cake. I don't want to just my cake, and it's now an addiction. Where does that?
We view addiction. In my experience, people with an addiction behavior, they have suffered. Some of them, it's either they've been abused when they were young, and for them to take that pain within them, they replace that with substance that they continue taking, and then they end up having to get to be hooked on it. And then when you get to be hooked on it, you cannot stop it. And then when you cannot stop it, that's when that's where the addiction is. So from my understanding is when you're dealing with most people with who have been going through sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglected, grew up without parents, grew up having to be hold negative things within their lives. However, I would love, from what you have said, to give my own personal experience. With my dad, he had an addiction. I believe that he had an addiction, alcohol addiction.
Okay.
Within this, he used to drink alcohol. All I remember within my childhood is he used to drink alcohol most of the times.
Is it only now that you are now?
Now I realize it. I look, yes,
you can see that it was an addiction.
And yes, it was an addiction. But fortunately, he had that problem. He just stopped on his own.
He stopped on his own.
He stopped on his own. Yes. So, which I feel is a privilege that he did manage to stop on his own. But he was a bit more older. This is when his dad passed away. So then he realized that he had to work on himself. But for individuals, I think in Zimbabwe, whose members or family members with addiction, if you look at their history, the way they drink, we all humans, you know, we all eat food, but it's how people have to eat, you know, the extent that they have to eat. And then people we do drink, the people who socialize, I'm not here to say drinking alcohol is wrong, but when you start to see how an individual end up having to misuse the substances, so we look about the history.
So where someone is misusing alcohol, or where they're using, there's something key that you said which I don't want to miss, where there's a history of perhaps abuse or neglect or you know, verbal abuse, anything in their past.
So this is an individual whereby they want to numb the pain.
To numb the pain.
Yes.
So where it's self-medicating in a way, where they use the drugs or the alcohol, then that would perhaps indicate, this is more than just social drinker. There's more to it.
So there is more to it. So they will continue having to numb that pain, but having to know the consequences of numbing that. Well, if you continue having to misuse that drug, you end up having physical health problems, you end up having mental health problems, you end up having psychological problems. So as an addiction therapist, you see that individuals, they start going to the hospital having to seek medication over a psychological or psychosocial problems that they have suffered when they're young. So those are the things that needs to be filled. Those are the things that people as an individual have to have that openness within them, you know. And this is where myself as an addiction therapist, I'm here to raise an awareness to say, for those people who have gone through pain, right, and who know that they may need help regarding to what they're going through, they do not have to feel shame. They do not have to feel that surroundings, you know, they'll be labeled as people who have weaknesses. We all crave, from what I've naturally observed, is when people had not received any love within their family members, they seek that love from substance misuse. So when they get hooked, that's when things start to
that's great,
have a
and
problem.
that's really interesting. It's really enlightening. The lack of love can lead people to look for love in other things, like in substances, in gambling, maybe getting the buzz, in sexual addiction, all those type of addictions. And what type of help is available for people? You've talked about medication, but what type of, how can you get, so we've just got a mom or a dad whose child is addicted to something, to cocaine, and they're watching the show. How can they get their child, or how can they help that person to get, how can family members help?
In most of the communities, this is something I know that, well, we grew up not knowing that we've privileged here in UK that, you know, we have some communities that are there to help people, to help families, to help individuals who are going through. So in most communities, we do have drug treatments that we offer to individuals. So
So would it be going to your GP in the first instance?
You go, yes. So if you go to a GP, then you get to be referred to a specialist.
Okay.
So all the GPs, they normally have some contacts through. So when you say this so it all depends. With your diagnosis, an individual who has a drug addiction, who is still going through treatment, may not be helped with a mental health problems. So they need to actually deal with the addiction first, and then they get to be helped for their mental health. Individuals, they do die. This is quite sad. They do die with an overdose. Okay.
So like you've mentioned the communities, but I think I want to take you back a little bit.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you can answer that, but for someone who's watching, who's got a family member, right? Is it, I don't know if it's easy. Does it have to be the person who is addicted who needs to be ready to go and get the help? Or can me as a mom take my child and take them to the GP and say, he's taking drugs, sort him out?
Oh, okay. The way I view recovery is when an individual is ready.
Okay.
Because there is that what we call disconnection. So when we talk of recovery, you are reconnecting to yourself. You are reconnecting to yourself. So in this way, is when an individual on their own, they are ready. And recovery, it's a journey. The individuals, they relapse, they lapse, they relapse, they relapse. So it takes quite few years for an individual to come to their own sense, to understand that, to have that, to be stable and to detox and to live a normal life.
Wow.
Yes.
There's so much. I think there's so many facets to this, because it's a complex thing. It's not, and it's not something that you can just try and fix. I think in the letter that we read at the beginning of this episode, we spoke about a young man who's homeless.
Okay.
And I remember taking him and saying to him, no, we want you to be, we just want to fix you, like we want to love you. And one thing he said to me was, you don't understand about addiction. I actually want to take them, because when I take it, it makes me feel good, it makes me forget, and for that time, I don't want anything else. So when you're saying to me, stop, I don't want to stop. And it has to come with me. And so it's a difficult place when you're a parent or a family member supporting someone. What could they on a practical level do when you've got someone who says, I'm not ready to stop?
Well, if they say they are not ready to stop, they're being open up. However, as I said before,
they're being what? Sorry, I didn't get that.
They are not. They just open up about who they are.
Okay.
But this takes us back to the relationship within the family. This is what we need to also have to, because it all depends on an individual. Sometimes we may say, what you're doing is wrong, what you're taking is wrong, but we do not know the history of that child, why he is doing that.
So what if when he's reached that point, because there might be somebody who's now 19, 20, okay, so there's some parents, so they will have different types of viewers. We have some viewers who are at a point now, their children are maybe 10, 11, and they can actually do something about it. They can spend more time, build that relationship and avoid. Then there are others who are, perhaps their child is like our admirer here, who has now gotten into a really dark place and he felt he couldn't get out. How would a mom in that situation, is there any support for them? Is there anything to help them?
There is family support for mothers who are going through this, and yes, there is.
Okay.
So she will need to have herself. All depends with the communities in which area she is living at. She can have a self-referral.
Okay, for herself.
Yes, for herself. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and then she can go. She can be helped as well.
That's wonderful.
Yes, and then we have Family Anonymous as well. That helps as well.
So people can contact you. Can they contact you directly if they need to talk to someone? Is your charity set up yet?
I am currently on Facebook.
We'll share that link so that people can join that group.
Thank
and
you.
at least that gives them a place where they can where they can talk even anonymously,
Yeah.
and try and get some help and signposting, because I think it's a very complicated issue, isn't it?
It's quite a very complex, because
Yeah.
you're dealing with an individual and you're dealing with the families,
Yes.
and their physical health problems that happens within
With addictions.
with the addictions. And if there is anything I would really say is, for those people who are going through addiction, when you have that sense to know that this is the right time, we are there to help.
Yeah.
And there is help, and it is very important. It's better when it is done sooner than later, and there is always hope. There is recovery is a journey, and we're there to give that care, to give that love, to give that compassion towards you. People, they actually think addicts, they are bad people, or they are gangs. They're actually humans. They have feelings.
Yeah.
They have gone through some painful and emotional things that, you know, when you hear, you know, you just feel that there is a great damage that has happened within them. So
if we've got any people who are watching who are currently addicted or who are addicts, it's important to know, like what you've just said, that there is hope, there's help out there.
Yeah.
They can contact you, or they can go to their GP and self-refer.
Yeah.
And for people who, there's just one last group of people that I want to just quickly ask about.
Okay.
If you're aware of, I don't know if there is any particular help, because I know sometimes people need to go to rehab.
Oh yes, sure, I do.
And so what about people who have no, you know, the
fundings,
immigration status? So there might be people who are here and they don't actually have immigration status, and that is another perhaps factor which causes people to even start taking drugs, because they're so depressed. They feel their life is going in a cycle, round and round and round, and they don't see any way out. Are there any charities, do you know of any places where they can go in particular?
Well, at the meantime, I've never had any charity that helps individuals who are going through immigration problems. However, it's still the same. If they get to go to GP, you get to be referred, depending because everything is get to be revealed, and then you get to be referred where your situation, where like according to how your situation is, and then they refer you according to what kind of a help you need. Yes, but I haven't had in terms of immigration problem. People are
particular
particular
organizations.
Yes,
no, that's excellent. That's really good. Yeah. So so I think that's great. Just as a last note, if there's anything that you want to say to the audience, or to anyone who might be struggling with addiction, or who's a family member for somebody. Just the last word of encouragement, or...
Well, myself, I feel very honored to be doing this. It's quite a privilege, and my advice for those who are going through, with individuals with problems with addictions and addictions or any sort of addictions problems, please do not go through this on your own. You may not realize the damage you make continuously, having to do in your own way, maybe thinking that you're doing the right thing. Please do not feel shame. Please be open about this. And as time goes on, I pray that the society will be able to accept this, and as a family, we will be able to help. We'll be able to help each other and put our heads together on what we need to be doing. My experience is families who are going through this, they have problems in terms of having financial problems. Sometimes they may not even have anything to eat, or sometimes they may not even eat because of depression. So just being there for each other is important. For me, my own advice, let's just be open about this. And then I am here as Regina to give the support
Yeah.
Through.
Oh, that's great.
Yes,
so we'll put the links to your group.
Thank you.
And then people can contact
Yes,
you. Thank you so much, Regina. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the 8th episode of the Rumbidzai show, and the last in a series where we've been talking about drug abuse and some of the consequences of addiction, of some of the challenges that parents are experiencing. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for sharing the video. Thank you for having the conversations about and around this issue. I want to encourage anyone who's watched this, who is going through a similar situation, who's been through a similar situation, and who is in need of help, to reach out. We're going to post links to organizations that can help you. And at Migrant Family Support, an organization that I started and that I run, we are able to help you with counseling. We have coaches and counselors who are able to assist and help, and we can make the referral. At the moment, it is a paid service, but we are trying to get some funding so that it can be a free service. But in the meantime, there are so many organizations that you can turn to who can help. So if anyone is struggling with drug addiction, or a child is going through that, or they are or alcohol addiction, and it's easy with alcohol addiction to think it's not an addiction, or with gambling. Those are all addictions and can have similar consequences, where people give up, can lead to suicide, leading to relationship breakdown, leading to so much in families. And we encourage you to not suffer in silence and to get help as soon as possible, rather than to leave things late. We're so happy to be able to journey with you and have these conversations, which I believe are life-changing, especially in these times that we are isolated, living alone in different areas under lockdown. We need each other. We need to talk about things that affect us. We need to signpost each other, get help where necessary, and grow together as a people and a community. Even starting just here on Facebook, on YouTube, on media. That's all we have at the moment, isn't it? Because we cannot gather. So wherever we are, let's look out for each other. Let's love each other. Let's be aware of what's going on around us. We are in week 6 of the lockdown, and I just want to encourage someone out there who might be struggling with a child who's addicted, or a child who's in a gang, that you know what, there is help available for you. There are people who care. There are people who've walked the same journey as you and want to walk alongside you and help. Don't allow your situation to overwhelm you. Get help, reach out. We are here to support you. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to our next episode, which will be coming on in 2 weeks' time, where we're going to be talking about different issues that affect us as a community. But in the meantime, we are having Operation Gadzirira Lunguselala Prepare. So we are encouraging people to prepare for the inevitable, because we're all going to die at some point. So we encourage you to watch this, get some tips, get some free information that can help you and that can empower you. We are airing this week every day at 5 p.m. So tomorrow we're talking to Petronella, who is a lawyer in Zimbabwe, who's going to be talking about organizing your estate and getting ready to do your wills and things like that. So join us tomorrow at 5. We'll be on live with Petronella. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, stay at home, and don't forget to that you are saving lives as you stay at home. And we just want to say to all of the NHS workers and key workers in the front line, thank you so much for your sacrifice. Thank you for what you're doing. May God bless you. And further to that, we want to just say rest in peace to everyone who has lost their lives due to COVID-19.